Hey, good morning, guys. It's John with the New York Metro weather. Hope you guys are doing well and had a great weekend. Happy Sunday. We are here to talk about snow for the first time this winter. It took until February 26th for us to have to create or feel the need to create a video to discuss winter weather in New York. But here we are, actually 2 days before the start of meteorological spring on March 1st. We're finally discussing snow in New York. So, first off, just wanted to take a quick moment to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, for supporting us. It's really, really cool that we get to do this. I say this at the start of every video, but it is so appreciated, and it's not lost on me just how cool it is that I get to spend time talking about the weather in New York with you guys, and that you guys watch these and support these, and I really do appreciate it, so thank you. So let's get into the storm system, discuss what's going on, and break it down. I'm going to keep this pretty short and sweet, not get into too much of the technical crazy details. And then if you guys have questions, we can get into it a little bit more tonight and talk about the individual weather models and things like that. What we're going to look at is just the setup for this storm system. So here we are as of this afternoon. There's a couple things that we'll go through. We're looking at a higher resolution weather model. New York is right over here. And the first thing that we notice is a deep low pressure system forming coming into the plains. So there's a big severe weather event expected today in parts of the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma, as well as southern Kansas. So this system is really jacked up. There's a lot of moisture. It's a very intense storm, lots of instability and thunderstorms expected. And initially, like with the track of this storm, when you see it cutting all the way up here into Iowa, you would expect that the storm would just kind of continue this way. And a storm system that tracks way west of New York is typically really bad for winter weather in our area because you get all this warm, moist air coming up with it, and the storm system tracks off to our north and west, and it's kind of curtains in terms of snow potential. But what's happening here is we have a very fast flow and high pressure over southern Canada, and we haven't really had that much this season. So we see this very fast sort of tight flow here across Canada. And when this storm comes up and tries to cut into that, it's forced to redevelop off to the south. So you can watch that kind of occur here. The storm system's trying to cut northward, but it really doesn't have a lot of room to do that. So eventually it ends up in somewhere near Wisconsin or Michigan, and then is forced to redevelop off to the south and east. And you can see that secondary low forming here off the mid-Atlantic coast. So right off the rip, we're going to be fighting warm air with this storm system. We do have some cold in place across New England, but this storm is going to be pushing this warm air into our area as it comes up. And you can kind of see that with the models, right? It like starts as snow, but you have all these gross looking orange and pink colors that are showing mixed precipitation types. So where this secondary low forms is obviously going to be the key of the forecast here Monday night into Tuesday. Let's just zoom into the Northeast or at least the Eastern U.S. here to get a better look at kind of what's going on. And we'll look at the European model. If this zoom would work, that would be great. And check out exactly what it's suggesting. And there's a couple things that come into focus pretty quickly. So first we have our initial low pressure that goes up here, right, all the way up towards Chicago. Then our secondary low starts to form. And on the European model, it's pretty strong. It's 995 millibars. It's very well established as it moves off the coast of, I don't know, it's like Ocean City, Maryland there, and then off the New Jersey coast there. So when this happens, you start to get that cyclonic flow around that low pressure system, and you start pulling colder air and dynamics into this storm. So the European model, as of this morning, suggests that this will be mostly a snow event for parts of New Jersey, New York, Long Island, and Connecticut as it wraps up and moves off to the east. If we look at the NAM model, it evolves a little differently, and that primary low is further north, and the secondary low is slower to redevelop. You see it's all the way in here near Washington, D.C., and then it sort of is weaker as it moves off the New Jersey coast. So that allows this warm air to really push further northward, and all your snow is up here in New England as opposed to down here in New York. So there's still a lot to be determined with this storm. If we look even at the simulated radar on this NAM model, what it likely suggests is that we start off as snow on Monday evening, and then we flip over to a wintry mix and rain in New York. If we look at the European, again, it's got that stronger secondary low here, so the dynamics would keep it more snow in the New York City metro area as opposed to that mix. I always like to look at the dew points before an event because they can often signal how much resistance this air is going to have to the warmth that's incoming. And our dew points here are pretty low on Monday. We're down into the teens in New York and the single digits in New England. So there's going to be at least some resistance in the low levels with this cold and dry air mass to this warm air that's kind of trying to push in. So in some sense, I think a blend between the warmer and colder models is a good idea. We'll use the NAM simulated radar here and just zoom into New York and take a look at the timing of this, with the understanding that the precipitation type is going to be uncertain. But here we are now. This is valid at 7 o'clock on Monday, and we have our first bands of snow coming in here. You can see them over northern New Jersey, eastern PA. Then by the time we get to about 8 or 9 o'clock, it's snowing in New York. We have that wintry mix trying to work up in here to parts of eastern PA and western New Jersey. And you can see the snow continuing. This is 11 o'clock, so it's still snowing in parts of the New York City Metro and northern New Jersey. And then finally, as we get closer to the early morning hours of Tuesday, we get that wintry mix, and it kind of oscillates back and forth between rain and snow and mix before it gets out of here later on Tuesday morning. This is valid at 8, 9 a.m. So I like to take a look in this. We have a discrepancy between the weather models, right? Let's take a look at the ensemble. This is a European ensemble, and the way to think of an ensemble is this, right? We were just looking at one individual weather model. An ensemble takes a European weather model, and it runs it 50 different times with slightly different initial conditions. It perturbs the model slightly differently 50 different times. And that gives us an idea as to what the possible solutions are, what the envelope of solutions and possibilities are. Instead of just looking at one weather model, we look at that weather model 50 different times. And so it gives us a range, right? And this ensemble is fairly reliable in terms of our expectations. So we're looking at our 50th percentile snowfall from Monday into Tuesday. And you see there's pretty good agreement here on a couple things. First of all, the cutoff will be just south of New York, Staten Island down to Philly. That's where we're expecting at least an inch of snow. New York City is firmly in that 1 to 3 inch range. And then the further north you go into the interior and the higher elevations, we're looking at the possibility of that 3 to 6 inch range up in this general area from this storm system, away from the metro, away from the coast. And so that's a pretty good place to start with this storm. I think 1 to 3 inches of accumulating snow in New York is a good idea here moving Monday night into Tuesday. Looking at the national model blend, pretty similar idea, right? It's a little bit lower snowfall totals near the coast, Staten Island, the south shore of Long Island, likely coming in closer to an inch. We have closer to 2 to 3 inches in parts of Manhattan, from Newark into Manhattan, northern Queens, the Bronx. And then as you go further north into New Jersey and the higher elevations here, that's where you're talking about the possibility of 3 inches or more from this storm, where that cold air is a little bit more held in place and resists the incoming warmth a little bit more. So this is where we like to start with this storm. I think this looks solidly like 1 to 3 inches of snow in New York, more in the interior, a little bit the lower end of that on the south shore of Long Island. But again, this is going to be the first sort of really kind of impactful winter storm of the season, where we have to think about the impacts of it. It comes in Monday night. That wintry precipitation continues into Tuesday morning, so that morning commute on Tuesday might be a little bit impacted by this storm. I think that's important to keep in mind, especially from New York City north and west. If you're in northern New Jersey, southeast New York, Connecticut, prepare for that wintry precipitation accumulation Monday night into Tuesday, and prepare for a slow sort of wintry commute on Tuesday morning. Obviously, we'll have a lot more on this storm as we go through the next couple of days, preparing the possibility of a live stream on Monday as this storm comes in. We have been working on getting this together for you guys, and we're super excited to potentially be able to live stream tomorrow. More news on that as we get a little bit closer to the storm itself. But again, looking like an impactful winter storm. Not the biggest amounts of accumulation, but still accumulating snow in New York tomorrow night, Monday night into Tuesday, and the possibility of a slick commute on Tuesday morning. We'll be back with more later today and tomorrow, of course. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great Sunday. Talk to you soon.